I think we're going to be live now, any second. Come on. Wait for it to go red. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. How are you all doing? Welcome to Saswata Bormik, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. It's a hot show tonight, and that's because it is actually hot in the UK. You can see I'm sweating. But Manchester United, very interesting sort of breaking news. Obviously, Aaron Wan-Bissaka has now been confirmed as a Manchester United signing, which is absolutely fantastic. But a leaked email, some would say a purposely leaked email, has come out promising more major signings for Manchester United and more transfers this summer transfer window. So where has this come from? Do you know anything about it? Bruno Fernandes hype is very real. We'll be talking about him in a moment. But this is a very significant thing. This came out at about 3 o'clock today UK time. It was from James Ducker, who I read with the Telegraph, who I think is, I think there's a few journalists around Manchester United that you should, are quite right quite a lot of the time, and James Ducker is another one. He's also somebody who has spoken about Bruno Fernandes in the last week, but that's not what he was talking about this afternoon. It was a couple of hours after Aaron Wan-Bissaka had been announced officially, and basically was saying that an email had gone out from Ed Woodward to not all Manchester United fans. An email had gone out from Ed Woodward to the hierarchy at Manchester United, basically reassuring them that despite all the negativity out there at the moment, there is a lot of positive work being done around transfers. This has been read. I think James Ducker said he'd read the email, so it's obviously leaked out into the media. I would say it's probably purposely leaked out to the media, because how do Manchester United leak out that they are trying to make signings to try and turn the tide of negativity? We'll also be talking about the Glazer out movement, because if anybody was hearing about the protest, I think about 50 people turned up. It was an absolute embarrassment, to be honest. So we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. That's not my opinion. That's everybody on social media saying what a joke that was. But we'll talk about that. But let's start off with this email. So basically what the email says from Ed Woodward is that despite us operating in an inflated market, that worries me. I'll come back to that in a minute. We're working calmly to bring in exciting players that fit the long-term vision of this club. So despite working in an inflated market, that, as a long-in-the-tooth United fan, and instantly says to me what Sir Alex Ferguson used to say. Inflated market is the same as no value in the market, so that's a little bit worrying. Also, working calmly to bring in exciting players that fit the long-term vision of the United. That, to me, says Sean Longstaff and people like that. We're going to buy young players that nobody else wants in the hope that they will become good players in the future. So, look, United are going to make more signings. The reason I've put Solskjaer's 200 million transfer promise is because the players that are mentioned in that article are 2 midfielders, a centre-back and potentially a right winger. Well, that's £200 million worth of expenditure in anybody's money. 2 midfielders, a centre-back and a right winger. And I can actually tell you that the players that James Ducker spoke about as well. Greenwood, right wing, right midfield, DM and centre-back is all that's needed, says Meb3. And welcome to Ryan Brown, latest member of the Manchester United fan club. A few people asking about Rant's fight. It's not being live streamed. It bloody should have done. But if you want to know the result of that fight, it will be in at about 10 o'clock UK time. Follow at Mark Goldbridge on Twitter, which is me, because I've got people at the fight who are going to tell me the result as soon as it happens. So there you go. The 4 players that Ducker mentions, James Ducker, are Sean Longstaff, which I think I certainly think we are going to sign him. Bruno Fernandes, I certainly think we're going to sign him. Harry Maguire, and Declan Rice has been mentioned as well. Well, Declan Rice fits in with the profile of player that Manchester United want to bring in. Declan Rice sort of reminds me a little bit of Wan-Bissaka in the way that we might just go and get him in a 50 to 60 million pound deal. Interested to see about that. I think Longstaff, we definitely think that there's a player there, and obviously Bruno Fernandes. My only concern about this is the line. We are working in an inflated market, and we are looking to bring in players that fit the long-term vision of United. That, to me, says that Manchester United are focusing on players that are not ready now, that might be ready in a few years. And I think we won't judge this transfer window until August the 8th, will we? But they've got to bring in players that are... All right, Wan-Bissaka's a great signing. Daniel James might be a good signing. Sean Longstaff could be a good signing. But you've got to bring in some experience. You've got to bring in some experience. And when I say experience, I'm not even saying like 28, 29-year-olds. I mean, Bruno Fernandes is experienced. He started his career, he's Portuguese, he goes to Italy, plays there, he comes to Sporting Lisbon fantastically well. He's now a Portuguese international. He is an experienced player. Koulibaly is an experienced player. I think United need to bring in a couple. Nicola Pepe is an experienced player for Lille. And very interesting, there was a source today, I forget his name, Sagar, who was apparently a pro-Liverpool sort of source, apparently, I don't know, but he was saying that Pepe's dream is to come to England. So maybe he will go to Liverpool, but there is an opportunity for United there. But I do think United do need to bring in some experience. It's all right bringing in Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James, Sean Longstaff, Declan Rice, all these young players with potential. But they come into the club, they need somebody to nurture them. And Solskjaer and Carrick and everyone can do that from the bench, and Mike Phelan. But who's going to do it on the pitch? The one thing that resonates with me from Manchester United last season is that team is spineless. They are Jelly Babies FC, they are Pampers FC. They bottled it in the last 2 months of the season, and all of them bottled it. You know, whether you want to say David De Gea, Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, Juan Mata, Nemanja Matic, whether they're favourites or people you don't like in the team, collectively they all bottled it last season. So how can you chuck young players into that and say nurture them when they can't even nurture themselves? We need to bring in these young players for the future, I agree, but we also need to bring in some actual experienced winners in the higher echelons of football. And that's why I think even if it was just Bruno Fernandes and Koulibaly, I think they would be massive signings for that squad because they come with real international calibre, and they'd give a buzz about the place, and they'd give some real top class talent around the place. So I'm excited by the younger signings, but that statement from Ed Woodward, I think people take it as a positive because it means we're going to be signing more players, and it does. But I also worry about the statement that we're working in an inflated market. We're not working in an inflated market though, are we, Ed? We're not working in an inflated market. That is absolute bullshit. I'm sorry. We are not working in an inflated market. You just don't want to pay the money because, and maybe it's not Ed Woodward's fault. Maybe it's those people in America who own the club saying you're only having so much to spend, but we're not operating in an inflated market, because that to me says, oh, the reason we spent 3 weeks negotiating with Crystal Palace for Wan-Bissaka is because we're operating in an inflated market. But Wan-Bissaka's worth 50 million quid. So what were we negotiating about? We obviously went in with low offers because we've ended up getting him for 45 million plus 5 in add-ons, but he's worth 50 million. So why did it take so long? Koulibaly's worth 90 million. You might not want to pay it, but he is worth it. Bruno Fernandes is worth 60 million. You might only want to pay 40, but he's worth 60 million. We're not operating in an inflated market. What we're operating in is owners of this fucking football club who don't want to pay the going rate, because it's all about, well, if I pay 40 million for a 60 million player, that's 20 million more for me to earn interest on. So we're not operating in an inflated market at all. Real Madrid seem to have operated perfectly well in this market and seem to have bought players for the going rate. Manchester United, we just want to barter everything. So we're not operating in an inflated market at all. And as for this long-term vision, well, it's great to buy young players. I'm excited by buying young players. I prefer to develop young players, to be honest. But buying young players like Wan-Bissaka, I'm all for that. But there's a big element of risk with that. Not only have you got an inexperienced manager, you're now going to buy a load of inexperienced players and have a long-term vision. But the long-term vision could just be a failed vision. You've got to bring some experience in, because the one thing we took from last season was that team isn't strong enough. And I don't trust that team. So you've got to add some experience to that team. And I don't mean 30-year-olds. I really don't. Any news on Yuri Tillemans, Mark? Would be a great signing, says Fraser. I don't think we're going to see Yuri Tillemans at the football club unless Pogba goes. I get the feeling that he is on the list for Manchester United, but he's far down the list. I think the priority midfielders for United are Longstaff and Bruno Fernandes. It doesn't mean we'll get both of those players, because you might not get either. But at the moment, they're the two priorities for Manchester United. Apparently, in relation to Bruno Fernandes, he's cut his holiday in Dubai early. He's cut it short, so that is quite interesting. Who's better as a CDM, Longstaff or Matic, as Pack 376? I mean, I think that's a very good question, because everyone's going to say Longstaff, and everybody knows I don't like Matic. But the harsh answer is the better CDM out of Matic and Longstaff is Nemanja Matic, because we don't know anything about Longstaff. Are we going to be those fans who, yeah, look, I don't like Matic, static Matic, hot potato Matic, takes loads of touches on everything, and I don't like Matic, but You can't say Sean Longstaff is a better CDM than Matic when he's played a handful of games for Newcastle. Like, you can't. Potentially he could be, but you can't say he's better than Matic, which is why I would go and buy a CDM who is better than Matic. Like, Ndidi is better than Matic. Idrissa Gueye is better than Nemanja Matic. I would go and buy those players because I know they are better. Longstaff could be better than Matic, but it's a total risk, and you're putting your hands... You're putting the fate of the club in the hands of scouting. Oh, I think he can be the CDM solution. Oh, do you? You think he can? Because your recruitment over the last 6 years has been spot on, lads. But yeah, let's go and spend 25 million on a player who's played a handful of games for Newcastle because you think he can be the next big CDM. That's great, but actually, I don't think we as a football club are in a position to be going, I think I found the next CDM. We're 6th. We want to be back in the Champions League. Go and get a CDM, because it's the most important position in the team, who is proven to be one of the best CDMs in the league. And there's 1 or 2 we could go and get. There are 1 or 2. I think it's one of the most important positions. Welcome to Mainak Chakrabarti, who is the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Mark, there's all this talk about buying young players in, but what about the potential youth players we have in our academy, says Jin Amara Singh. And welcome to Kwanali Gumadi, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Congratulations to Sweden ladies. Yes, I like the Swedish ladies because they're a good footballing team. Nothing more than that. Sanchez is Sanchez for a packet of crisps, says Marky. I mean, Sanchez is doing all right for Chile. Hopefully that will mean people might buy him. But with regard, well, I've spoken about our youth before. I think Mason Greenwood is definitely good enough. The others will have to wait and see. Give Longstaff a chance. Think he will be good, and he is young, says Leon Lovelock. Look, Leon, Kings of Leon. I've got no problem with us signing Sean Longstaff. If we sign him, I didn't want Lukaku and I didn't want Matic. But when we sign them, I'll back them because they're a Manchester United player. I won't stay backing them. I don't back Alexis Sanchez because I think in a Manchester United shirt he's been a shower of shite. But I did back him when we signed him. I was quite excited. And if we sign Sean Longstaff, I ain't going to do a video going, oh, I'm really pissed off that we've signed him, this, that and the other. I'll go, look, he's a Manchester United player now. We've spent quite a lot of money on him for an unknown player who's hardly played any players. And I will back him. But if you're asking me, would I sign Sean Longstaff now? No. I would try and get Declan Rice. I would try and get Ndidi. I would try and get Thomas Partey. I think there's a number of centre defensive midfielders we can go out and get. And I know Thomas Partey's not a CDM, but he can play there. There's a number of players I would rather go and get for that position who I think have conveyed more suitability to the role and shown that they're more ready and proven. Longstaff could be the next Kante. He won't be, but he could be amazing. And if we buy him, great. And I hope we've scouted him correctly. But personally, I would be going for somebody a little bit different. And to be honest with you, we've been on about him for months. I think Ndidi from Leicester would be brilliant, but we won't get him. Paid 30 million for Fellaini. Brunei is worth double, says Daniel Tarrant. And Ryan Brown says, how much influence do you think Sir Alex has had being part of the board in the bad decisions and records over the years, business over football? Ryan, I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson has much of a say in anything that goes on at Manchester United, and I don't think Sir Bobby Charlton has much of a say that goes on at Manchester United. Ed Woodward and the Glazers and a couple of other people are running that club day to day. Sir Alex Ferguson and Sir Bobby Charlton may be consulted on things, but they're not day-to-day involved in the running of that club, and they certainly don't have the power to turn up and say, Ed Woodward, shut your mouth, this is what's going to happen. It's a myth. They don't. They're more figureheads. They're more ambassadors. They're not involved in the day-to-day. And Sir Alex Ferguson, numerous times, has confirmed that. He's not been involved in big decisions like consulting in relation to managers. He was involved in Moyes, but in other big decisions, he said, no, I wasn't consulted on that. So there you go. James Patrick, Goldbridge to present United stand in his pants if Longstaff bosses the centre midfield and Delo tears up the right wing next season. I'm happy to do that, James. And I don't dislike any of those players. I want that to make that abundantly clear. I just would prefer us to sign a right winger rather than convert a right back to right wing because it's just cheap to do that. And there are better options than Longstaff, I think, but I'm happy to get proven wrong. Sal Bakari says, would rather have Ziyech than Longstaff. Longstaff is a quality signing than any other good cheap wingers. Well, Longstaff's not a winger, for a start, and Ziyech is, so they're different positions, to be honest with you. But I think that I think, look, you just got to, with everything, we will be judging this transfer window on August the 8th, won't we? That we all know that's the case, and but I think if people are joining us a little bit late, I think the re-encouraging thing is that this email that has been sent out by Ed Woodward to his staff and has been leaked on purpose basically says that Manchester United will be signing more players, that they are negotiating calmly, and they are confident that they will get the players that they want, that will suit Manchester United in the vision they have about young, exciting players. So let's see what happens. We are going to make more signings, definitely. I'm the one. Remember about a month ago, there was a bit of there was people putting out rumours that United might only sign one more player after Daniel James, and I said no, we'll sign 4, at least 4. We'll definitely sign at least 4 players. We're halfway there, and I think we'll sign another 2 at least. So I'm totally confident about that. Who those players are going to be, I don't know. It's interesting that Harry Maguire's back out being mentioned again. I personally think we should go all in for Koulibaly. I think we can do that deal, but I don't know whether Manchester United want to spend the money on him. Do you think the reason we've gone after James and Longstaff is based on how much trouble they caused City last year, says Tad Davies? I think that's a tad optimistic to just go and be signing players because they had a good game against Manchester City, but I think as part of the scouting process they might consider that. Eni Aruma says, what about buying Longstaff and then loaning back? Yeah, could be a good idea, but it's a lot of money to do that where we need to spend it elsewhere. Welcome Ali G into house. Latest member is actually called Ali G, so we've got Ali G in the house. Marius Larson says, Matic was on the field when we played really well last season, then he got injured. I think he can have a good season. Matic, Pogba, Fernandes, and I believe in Fred. Would prefer Rice over Longstaff. Yeah, Marius, you're right on every point there. Give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back, because you are right on all those points. I wonder how many transfers will flop this year, says Meb3. Well, you know what? Everybody should be aware of that. That we, 100% of signings don't actually succeed, so there will be players that flop. Imrano TV says maybe Ollie has realised we need players with big balls in the team, so he has signed someone called Longstaff. Interesting. Saj Bakari says, I meant quantity. Longstaff is supposedly 25 million and Ziyech has a release clause of a similar amount. I would like Ziyech, by the way. And Kevin Mitchell says, if Longstaff is that good, why is no one else after him? Well, you could, in fairness, you could flow that the other way. Nobody else was after Wan-Bissaka. And Wan-Bissaka, for me, I rank, I don't know about you lot, but I put Wan-Bissaka as the second best right back in the Premier League at the moment. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is quite rightly, deservedly the best. I hate to say it because he's a Liverpool player, but I think he is the best right back. But Wan-Bissaka, I think, is the second best right back in the league. I think he's better than Kyle Walker. He's better than Kyle Pereira at Leicester. And he's definitely better than Bellerin. Defensively, I think he's the best right back in the league. I just think, Trent Alexander-Arnold offers more going forward. So, but nobody else was in for Wan-Bissaka. But maybe because they're not looking for a player in that position or they can't afford him. Metal Music Reviews says, I would be okay putting Dalot as a right winger. He's good at crossing and gets forward from the back, so I'll disagree with you there. Yeah, but my problem with it, Metal Music Reviews, is that if we put Dalot at right back, okay, he might be absolutely fine there, but it's making do. It's like converting a player that we've got from one position and putting a square peg into round holes again. We don't need to do that. Go and buy a specialist right winger. Nicola Pepe, Leon Bailey, Hirving Lozano, Jadon Sancho, they're all miles and miles and miles better than Dalot. And we could get one of those players. So we're making do putting Dalot there. He might do a good job, but he's not a specialist right winger and he's not going to be as good as those players who are. So I don't want to make do. I think it's a bad decision to do that. I fear we won't sign a good centre-back, says Andreas Edvardsson. I think we will sign a centre-back. It depends what you personally feel is a good centre-back if we're backing for Harry Maguire. Welcome to Chris Weatherall, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Broadmon says, do you think United have had any talks with any teams about Sanchez? Can you see a United team with him still in the squad? Great channel, by the way. Glory Manchester United. I don't know about Alexis Sanchez. I think he will be here next season because I think he's unsellable. I think his wages mean we've got to stick by him. He's got 3 years on 400 grand a week. Who is going to pay that? We've made a massive error. And he's not good enough, by the way. I don't care what he does for Chile. He is not good enough for Manchester United. Simon Hilden says, I think Longstaff transfer is typical Ollie signing young up-and-coming players that can grow with the club. He did the same in Mulder. Yeah, but the trouble is, all this talk of patience and a build, I don't think he'll get patience. I think if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer rolls up to Anfield with a young team and gets beat 6-0, that patience will go down the drain. I'm sorry, we all want to be patient, but I know for a fact if we get played off the park by Man City and Liverpool and everybody else next season and we finish 5th, patience will go out the fucking window. It will. I'm sorry to swear, but it will. There's a fine line between patience and stupidity. And going out there with a young team that might be good in 3 or 4 years, when you could actually buy 2 or 3 experienced players and make us decent now with a mix of youth, I don't know. I disagree. I don't think we need to go. I don't think every signing this summer needs to be a 21-year-old with potential, because who's nurturing them? As I said, if every player we buy is 21 with potential to be good, Daniel James, Wan-Bissaka, Declan Rice, Sean Longstaff, whoever else, who's nurturing them? We haven't got experienced players in that team who nurture talent. You've got to go and buy 1 or 2 nurturers as well. Matic was on the field. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to go back to Marius Larsson's point, because he was talking about how Matic was on the field when we played really well last season. The midfield was Matic, Herrera and Pogba around January, February time, and we did do really well. And I'm hoping we can get that Matic back, because I think we've not got Herrera now, but maybe a Matic, Pogba, Fernandes axis could work quite well, like he says. Right, new member, Chris Weatherall and Simon Hyeldon. Okay, we've done that one. The next thing I want to talk about, please do smash a like on the video, everybody. Leave Sanchez in the bin bag for a charity to collect, says Meb3. What are your thoughts on the new Marcus Rashford contract? Because we've spoken about James Ducker from The Telegraph leaking this email that's gone out from Ed Woodward where he says, we're calm, despite all the negativity. We will be making more signings in a challenging transfer market. We will be making more signings. Then James Ducker also tweeted out that Manchester United, in other positive news, are confident that they'll be announcing a new contract for Marcus Rashford very, very soon, worth up to £250,000 a week. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Now, let's bear in mind that £250,000 a week could have a number of bonus elements in it. It could be like, it could be a basic 200 with £50,000 in bonuses if he scores a lot of goal. My personal feeling is that £250,000 a week is more than 90% of Spurs, Liverpool and Man City players earn. A lot more. So why are we paying Marcus Rashford £250,000 a week? What has he done to deserve £250,000 a week? And will he ever be a £250,000 a week player? Now, look, there are a couple of arguments here. Luke Shaw's meant to be on £180,000 a week. Anthony Martial's meant to be on £250,000 a week. So Marcus Rashford's agent is quite right to say that's what we want. I think the person who leaked Barcelona were interested in Marcus Rashford has played an absolute blinder, because United have fell for it. There's no way Barcelona would want Marcus Rashford. He's not the finished article. He's very, very far from it. His free kicks are atrocious. His closing of eyes on crosses is amateur. And at the moment, his game is regressing. Now, I've always been a massive fan of Marcus Rashford, and I'm probably one of the few fans who think he can actually still be one of the top 20 players in Europe, which is still quite a good level of footballer. He won't be top 10 or 5, but he can be one of the top 20. He's a very talented kid. I think maybe at the moment he probably believes he's better than he is, and he probably needs to graft a bit more and learn. But with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there and him being a striker, that can help him. So I'm a big fan of Marcus Rashford, and people who watch the channel know that. But I have been critical of him recently, but I've been critical of Martial, who I really like as well. With regards to Marcus Rashford, I don't understand why the club are giving him £250,000 a week. Whether that includes bonuses or not, Harry Kane's not on that. Loads of Liverpool players aren't on that. Why are we paying silly money to players that actually don't justify that fee? We don't seem to be learning our lesson here. Like, we all moan about £400,000 a week for Alexis Sanchez, and it is ridiculous. But I'm sorry, on the same hand, I personally feel that £250,000 a week or £200,000 a week for Marcus Rashford is ridiculous as well. He's not worth any more than £150,000 a week, and I watch him every week. He's not worth more than £150,000 a week. When you take into account what Spurs are paying to their players, what Man City pay for their players, what Liverpool pay for their players, and they're all miles ahead of us in the league, why the hell are we paying more than those clubs pay their players for a player that's not the finished article, hasn't performed that well, and might never, ever actually fulfill his talent? Why would you pay him that sort of money? Because no one's going to buy him. So you're committing yourself to Marcus Rashford for the next 5 years on ridiculous money. And if he fails, and some people call him Trashford, and some people think he's the next Danny Welbeck, well, if he becomes that, we're stuck with him because no one's going to buy him. You're not going to get rid of him to Bournemouth when he's on 250 grand a week. It shows a hell of a lot of faith in the talent of Marcus Rashford to pay him that sort of money and give him that sort of contract. He better bloody work, because if he doesn't, we are stuck with a very, very, very expensive player. And I hope Manchester United know what they're doing. But I personally think that is way too much money. Sign Longstaff or kick DT in the Longstaff, says Dan O'Keefe. I think we know the answer to that. And £250,000 a week for Rashford is too high. The problem United have is that our wage structure is crap because of key players that earn too much money. Welcome to David Del Valle, the latest member. Well, you know, how do we solve our wage structure, right? Aaron Wan-Bissaka comes in on 80 grand a week, but then Marcus Rashford gets 250 grand a week. Anthony Martial's on a similar amount of money. Those two players in the last few months of last season were atrocious. They were a disgrace to the shirt. And yet we are rewarding with contracts like that. It is ridiculous. But my fear with all of this, and as we're seeing with Lukaku and Sanchez, is quite clear that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to sell Lukaku and Sanchez. Why can't he sell them? Because they're on ridiculous wages and nobody will go near them. And that's the problem you create. When you pay people silly wages to come to this club or stay at this club, if they don't succeed, then you can't get rid of them, because or to get rid of them is massively, massively expensive. And also, has anybody considered this? If you give Anthony Martial 250 grand a week, or you give Marcus Rashford 250 grand a week, and they're both young players with development left in them, what if they are the type of player that when you give them that big money and that big contract, they go, I've made it. I've already made it. I'm in the big time now. Do they lose the work ethic that both of those players need? They're still not the finished article. Martial and Rashford are nowhere near the finished article. They still need to hone certain areas of their game. Will they have the appetite to do it when you've already rewarded them with the keys to the kingdom and ridiculous money? And I think it's a mistake. I like both players. Anybody who's watched this show will know for the last 2 or 3 years, they've been my favourite players. They're not my favourite players at the moment because I think, like everybody, they've massively underperformed. But I don't see what either of them have done. I think it's fear. I think United are scared. I think they think, if we don't give them the new contract, they might go somewhere else. Well, if they seriously think they're worth more, no one else is going to give them 150 grand a week for a start. Who's going to give Rashford 150 grand a week? No one. Barcelona were not interested in him. No one's going to give it him. So why are we giving him another 100 grand on top of that? It's just bad. It's bad. Negotiation is bad at Manchester United Football Club. Woodward needs to come to his mind as far as wages and management is concerned, says Joseph Tikbiani. The only young player with that's capable of nurturing a team is De Ligt. Shame he isn't the priority. Think he would offer what we want, says Jonah Duff. Yeah, but De Ligt's played Europe, hasn't he? De Ligt has played the whole of Europe to earn as much money as he can. And you can't begrudge him that, but we were never seriously in for him. I think De Gea will sign a new contract, Johnny Ring. Anybody who's joining us a little bit late, there has been an email leaked by Ed Woodward saying that we will be signing new players. We're calmly working on new deals, so they've leaked that out. Let's just quickly talk about the Glazer out protest, actually, because I don't want to avoid this. Because apparently we're a channel that avoids it, even though we've spoken about it on most shows. We did a video on it. So, let me just say this. Over the last couple of weeks, on social media, on Twitter especially, Glazers Out has been trending quite a lot. Amongst all that trending, there was a decision by certain United fans that they were going to do a protest march at Old Trafford at 2:30 this afternoon. And people have known about this for 2 weeks. There was fear that not many people would turn up. Having said that, I think they expected more people to turn up than they did. There was a couple of people who do United Stand fan cams, Adam and Saeed, who were there this afternoon with their phones filming it, and literally there was next to nobody there. The turnout was literally worse than a Man City home game. No, seriously, there was hardly anybody there. Hardly anybody turned up, which poses a couple of questions. Who are the people behind these social media accounts who are flying the Glazers out flag but not bothering to turn up? Where are they from? Are they on the other side of the world and they've got no intention of flying over? Or is it, they just can't be bothered to back their words up? Why were they doing a protest anyway? Why were they doing it in the middle of the summer? Why would you do it in June? Why would you not do it on a match day? Lots and lots and lots of questions. Why would you even do a protest march? Maybe just continue with the social media thing. But it has somewhat deflated people who are very passionate about this current trend. And the protest has been a massive, massive embarrassment for that movement. It doesn't mean that movement stops, and I don't think it will. I just think the protest was ill-advised and was obviously destined to failure, because you're not going to get people coming into Manchester to go on a protest march in the middle of June. It's not going to happen. So that's what happened with that. I don't think it will be the end of people being unhappy with the Glazers. I don't like the Glazers. I'm Glazers out. I always have been. I never wanted them to take over our football club. But as I said before, the performances on the pitch last season are because of the players. They down tools. The reality about signing players over the last 6 years, we've spent a lot of money. The reason we've been bad at it is because we haven't got a director of football, and the people in charge of it don't know what they're doing. So we have spent money. We've failed over the last 6 years. So performances on the pitch and how much money we've spent, they're not going to drive me into being Glazers out this summer. The reason I'm Glazers out, and I'm not as passionate as everybody else because I've been Glazers out for a long time and you learn to live with it. The reason I'm Glazers out is because I never wanted them to take over the club in the first place. They don't support Manchester United Football Club. They're businessmen who've taken way more out of this club than the profit levels are. They've sucked out loads of money out of this club, and they bought this club on debt. I don't want owners like that. I want somebody to own our club who runs it like a business and actually puts the profits back into the investment in the club. I want the people who own this club to be Manchester United fans. So I'm not pro-Glazers. I am Glazers out, but I think this movement over the summer has always been somewhat dubious for me, and I've always felt that it's about little things like lack of transfers and performances on the pitch, which, whilst obviously the owners are responsible in a way, you've got to look at the players themselves a lot as well. Anyway, let's take up some super chats here. If we sell Lukaku, we should sign Erling Haaland. Any thoughts on that, says David Shaw. We spoke about him last night. Alf-Inge Haaland's son. I think he'd be an interesting signing. And I think he's one that maybe Ollie would look at. Score 20 in consecutive seasons, then maybe you get £250,000 a week, says Meb3 in relation to Rashford. £250,000 a week, he'd really have to step up his game, says TJ Smith. But the reality is, Solskjaer, whatever we say, Solskjaer loves Rashi, doesn't he? He's got a bloody pet name for him. He loves him. And I hope he does turn into the player that we know he can be. Neves for Longstaff as the fourth player, says Vazadav. I think we all like Ruben Neves, but there's no inclination that he's going to leave Wolves. Chops House says, can't wait for Ollie's presser. Hope he says how many are in. I don't know when that press conference is going to be. I hope it's Monday, but it might not be till the back end of next week. Simon Helden, we've run that. Wouldn't give him near 250 grand a week. £160,000 a week top, says Stephen Willocks. Mark, Longstaff, Fernandez, Koulibaly, Ziyech. Your thoughts if that is how the window is completed on 8th of the 8th. If we went and bought Longstaff, Fernandez, Koulibaly, Ziyech on top of Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James, I'd be very, very happy, Mark. Sign Longstaff. Yeah, I've done that. Done that. We should sign Callum Hudson-Odoi for the right wing, says Gregor P. Well, remember, he's not actually going to be fit until at least October. He's got a bad injury, and I don't think Chelsea would sell it to us, even though he's only got 1 year left on his contract. We've done that. Brazil, Argentina watch along on this channel Tuesday, on That's Football Tuesday, please, says Lucas Reyes. Depends what time it is, mate. Got to get my beauty sleep. Give me some more gin. Lovely hot day here in the UK, but you can probably see the sweat beads on my forehead. Please do smash a like on the video, everyone, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Bottom right hand corner, we are getting closer and closer to that 500,000 subscribers, which I think is a fantastic achievement for a channel that's not been going that long and has always been an independent channel with your lot's voice getting involved in it. And remember, on Monday night, we've got the call-in coming back. The Discord show is back on Monday night where you can call in. It's been too long. We've figured out how to make it work. It has been too long, and we will be back with that on Monday night. I'm just looking at myself drinking gin on the screen. Twat. William Louch, what's your reaction if we make all the needed signings but still finish 6th or 7th? Well, look, if United sign Wan-Bissaka, who solves the right-back issue, Bruno Fernandes, who gives us more creativity in the midfield, Ziyech, who gives us a very, very good right-winger, Koulibaly, who gives us that dominant centre-back, and we still finish 6th or 2nd, you've got to sack the manager. You've got to sack the manager. If you solve the centre-back issue, the right-back issue, the midfield issue, and the right-wing issue, and we still finish 6th or 7th, you've got to sack the manager. I know that sounds a little bit presumptuous, but you have. If you solve the problems in the team and we still finish 6th or 7th, it's got to be down to the tactics. Simple as far as I'm concerned. They pay Rashi 250 grand a week, yet they wouldn't pay Ander Herrera the 160 Astor. Yeah, well, that's a very good point, Chloe. You're absolutely spot on. Ander Herrera will be announced as a PSG player on Monday. I just want to say as well, if anyone's worrying about Bruno Fernandes, at 11:30 today, I put a tweet out saying noon, because I knew Wan-Bissaka was going to be announced at noon. Nobody else knew. And I was told that at 10:30 by the Draughty Devil, who was told by somebody else. So, yeah, we're a bit in the know on the United stand now. We're not really. But no, I was told that. I don't know how common knowledge that was, but I was told that. I'm not reading about Luke Shaw. Mark, who's been shipped out of United so far, says Will Baker. Nobody. Ander Herrera and Valencia, that's it. So Darmian still needs to go. Lukaku needs to go. Rojo needs to go. I'd love Sanchez to go. Look at the difference in attitude when Rashford first played for United. Since Rashford's pay rise, his quality on the pitch has dropped, says Brandon Pink. Well, I mean, I suppose this is why Rashford gets criticised for his friendship with Lingard, because it comes across as, you know, in his chain and everything like that, I've made it. And I think this isn't exclusive to Rashford, by the way. You could put this at Anthony Martial. You could put it at Dele Alli. You could put it at loads of players. I think players burst on the scene. They're really, really exciting. But I've been watching football for over 30 years. Wayne Rooney burst on the scene. He wasn't that brilliant player because he burst on the scene and scored a great goal for Everton against Arsenal. He developed, he worked, and over 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 years into his early 20s, into his mid-20s, he developed and worked harder and harder and harder every year. Because that's why it's very easy, right? If I said to you, what's the prime for a footballer? What years are a footballer in their prime? It's 26 to 30. It used to be 25 to 27 because a lot of footballers used to retire at 30 in the early 90s. But now footballers are playing till like 34, 35. So your prime years as a footballer are 26 to 30. What does that tell you? It means up until 26, you're still developing. Like Bruno Fernandes at 24 comes to the Premier League. He's still going to be developing for a couple of years. Marcus Rashford's just 20 or 21. Martial's a year or two older. Are they still developing? I don't think they are. I think they burst on the scene in their teens, did great things, and at the moment, they're levelled off. And it's not just those, it happens a lot. Are they still hungry to keep developing, or do they think they've made it and they stop developing and go, I've already made it? And they stay at that level. And if they stay at that level, that's dangerous because they've got more in them. So they should be developing year on year till their mid-20s. And that's still 3 or 4 years away for those players. And that is the danger. You give them those contracts, do they think they've made it? Rob Riley says, Lukaku for Skriniar, straight swap, no cash involved. Would you take it if available? Mate, I would get Lukaku on my back, do a sponsored run to Dover, swim to France and keep running all the way to Italy. And I'll tell you what, I won't faint. He's a heavy bloke, Lukaku. I'll do that journey for Skriniar. I don't care. I'll do it. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how many times I faint. I will do it. Because Skriniar for Lukaku, ridiculous. Absolutely brilliant deal. Tito the Fool says, Northeast LA, what up, Marky Mark? Excited to see Wan-Bissaka. Doesn't he look like Buckwheat from the Little Rascals movie? Never seen the movie. I'm very excited to see Wan-Bissaka. I'll tell you what I think about Wan-Bissaka. I just think it's a great signing, but I want to forget about it. I want to park it, put it in a drawer and think, I'll come back to you later. You know, when you're a kid and it was Christmas and you get a few presents that you like and you don't know quite not what to do. Oh, shall I play with my Subbuteo or my jigsaw? I hate jigsaws. I've been that. I tell you what, if somebody ever gave me a jigsaw when I was a kid, I don't care I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I don't care if my gran was in the room. If I open up a jigsaw, she's getting it in her face. I don't want a fucking jigsaw. Shove it up your arse. I've said for years I hate jigsaws. Why have you bought me a jigsaw? I don't care if it's a Star Wars jigsaw. I don't care if it's challenging. Shove it in the bin. I don't bloody want a jigsaw. So it wouldn't be a jigsaw, but you open lots of presents. You've got a few that you like, or maybe when you get a console and you get a few games, it's impossible to play them all. So you put some away for, it's a really good game, but you put it in the drawer till you've played this game. That's what I feel about Wan-Bissaka. What a great game he is. Put him in the drawer, forget about it, because I want to focus on the next players now. But I tell you what, I'll come back to you and I'm going to enjoy you. I'm going to really enjoy you, but I'm now focused on something else. So I'm very, very happy with Wan-Bissaka, but I want to, a right back to me was a bonus signing. I said it at the start of the summer. The priority signings were centre-back, CDM, another midfielder and a right winger. They were the priorities for me, and we haven't really filled those positions yet, have we? But we've got a right back now, which means Ashley Young, get out the door, don't take your coat, you've had your time, get out. So I'm very happy about Wan-Bissaka, but I'm very focused on what we're going to do now. Are we still in for Griezmann, says Sagar? Hey, I doubt it. July the 1st, Monday, is going to be very interesting. Rabiot's going to go to Juventus, Herrera's going to go to PSG, Griezmann will go to Barcelona. That's what we've been led to believe, because they're all out of contract, they're all going to move. Griezmann's not out of contract, it's his release clause, isn't it? Recap if possible. So the recap is Ed Woodward leaked an email that James Ducker in the Telegraph has read, and it basically says, despite working in an inflated market, no value in the market, we're working calmly to bring in exciting players that fit the long-term vision of Manchester United. So we will be bringing players in. That's a positive. Rashford's very close to signing a new contract on up to 250 grand a week. The players that we're meant to be after, Harry Maguire, Declan Rice, Sean Longstaff, Bruno Fernandes, back of the net. So let's see what happens. And potentially a right winger. But when the right winger never gets named, nobody knows the right winger. I don't think United know. I think we'd like to bring a wide right player in, but nobody knows. I'll give him a lane. Irving Lozano, 40 million quid, he'll come. Trust me, Ollie, I know you watch. Go and get Irving Lozano. Trust me, he'll be a legend at the club. He'll solve the right wing position. Go and get Irving Lozano. If you want to watch my FIFA career mode, I'm only joking, but no, do it. Do go and get Irving Lozano. 40 million. It'll be brilliant. He'll be brilliant at this club. And he's Mexican, and Mexico's got a huge population, which means loads of shirt sales. But he actually is good. He's not a banter player like Sanchez. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Bottom right hand corner. We're trying to get up to 484,000. Then we can say 16,000 away. With the Bruno Fernandes 55 million thing, is that just a one-off payment? He wouldn't get 5 million every time. If we put multiple bids just over 35 million, would he? Says Chris Brown. No. So Bruno Fernandes has got this clause in his contract. If anybody bids over 35 million euro and Sporting Lisbon rejects it, he gets 5 million euro. I've never heard of this before. I mean, Bruno Fernandes' agent is obviously a genius because I've never heard of this clause before. But Sporting Lisbon's president acknowledged it and spoke about it yesterday. So if somebody offers 36 million for Bruno Fernandes, of course Sporting Lisbon will turn it down because they want 70 million. But they'll have to pay Bruno Fernandes 5 million. It's ridiculous, but it's true. But it's only a one-off. It only happens on the first time they reject it. Nick P, AFTV commented on how quick we're getting our business done and how frustrated they are by Arsenal lowballing on transfers. We all do the same things. Yeah, but Arsenal have only got about £5.50 to spend, haven't they? They're a banter club. And Zeno Eman says, and they're about to get bantered tonight when DT's son gets knocked down by Rance. He better bloody do it. And Zeno Erman says, offer contracts that are earned, not ones to show we are a big club, or sell them if they are not happy with the offer. Players that will want to come will have wage expectations that don't match what they're worth. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think you're spot on. I think Rashford's being offered too much if it's true. I am going to do pro clubs. I've got loads of emails to reply to, insane, so thanks for that. Zed Jamie says, Ashley Young is the game you sell on eBay. He is. And right wing options, Lozano, Pepe or Leon Bailey or Bale on loan, says Luke Longman. To be honest with you, Luke, I never really wanted Gareth Bale, but at this point, if you're saying I'm worried we're not going to get a right winger. If you're saying it's Gareth Bale or nobody, I would get Gareth Bale. You know, I went into the summer, and I think you go into the summer with high expectations. I don't want Gareth Bale, I want Sancho. I don't want Gareth Bale, I want Lozano. But if you're telling me now it's nobody or Gareth Bale, I will take Gareth Bale because we need a right winger. We do. So, yeah, I would take Gareth Bale. I know it's a change. People call that being flip-flop. It's not. Everybody can change their mind based on circumstances. Like, you know, you could go out tonight, you're not had anything to drink, no beer, no wine, no gin. You walk into a club, you see a girl across the way, she smiles at you and you think, plain Jane or plain Jim, whichever way you float your boat. I'm not having any of that, right? You come on, you have a good night, you're having more and more of your beers or whatever, and at the end of the night, you've tried a few, you've got unlucky, she smiles at you again, and suddenly you think, you know what, I'm going to have some of that, because I'd rather have that than go home and have a pot noodle and a wank. So, you know, that's the way it works, isn't it? And with Gareth Bale, it's a bit like that. He's a good player, he's 30 this summer, he is injury prone, he is expensive, and I think he is on the decline. But if it's the choice of Gareth Bale or nobody, I will take Gareth Bale. About 10 o'clock, follow me at Mark Goldbridge. About 10 o'clock, I'll have the result from the Rants against DT Suns fight. It's not being streamed. They've missed a mistake there, but it's not being streamed. So if you want the result, follow me on Twitter at Mark Goldbridge. That gin's too nice. I think I probably should stop the show. I think I'm becoming a little bit loose-lipped. The analogies are coming out. The rude jokes are coming out. And it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. I need to do more of these on my own channel, to be honest. Yeah, I think we should do more late night shows on my channel. This is the United Stand. Right, everybody, I really enjoyed the show anyway. Thanks everybody for watching. Please smash a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Get your comments in below if you're not watching live, and make sure you subscribe and all that jazz. Back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and we'll probably have a video for you tomorrow at some point if there is some news, because I think now that Wan-Bissaka's been done, they'll turn their attention to another signing. So what we're going to see over the next few days is United's next target. So last 3 weeks it's all been about Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka's done now. Like I say, very good signing. Put him in the draw for pre-season. We'll go again. So you're going to find out in the next few days who our next target is. It could be Harry Maguire. It could be Sean Longstaff. It could be Bruno Fernandes. I think it's going to be Bruno Fernandes. I'm very confident we're going to sign him at some point, unless Ed Woodward messes it up. And I always put that in. People say, how confident are you we're going to sign Bruno Fernandes? Well, I'm pretty much told we are going to sign Bruno Fernandes, so I'm very, very confident. But we all knew we were signing Perisic 2 years ago. And then Woodward negotiated us out of it because he refused to go too high. That's the only danger with this deal, is that United refused to pay the money that Sporting Lisbon want. But we should pay the money. You know, you can't walk away. What always annoyed me about that Perisic deal is Mourinho wanted a winger who could put crosses into the box 2 years ago, and Perisic is brilliant at it. He wanted Perisic. He said to Woodward, I want Perisic. Woodward negotiated for Perisic and then went, I'm walking away because they want 5 million more. He walks away. Mourinho goes, well, what are you going to get me then? Oh, no, I've walked away. Oh, so the winger I want to put the ball into the box because I've got Lukaku, you've not got me. No, because I didn't want to pay 5 million more. Well, who are you going to get me then? Oh, nobody. I've just walked away. Cheers, Ed. So now I'm going into a season with no winger to put the cross in the box. Yeah, but they wanted 5 million more than I wanted to play. Great. That's bloody brilliant, that is. So you've played the hard ball. You're not going to pay it, but you've not got a backup. No. But I haven't spent 45 million. Oh, great. The Glazers will love you. High five, you twat. But that is what worries me, is that we might not do the Bruno Fernandes deal because we refuse to go to the price that we need to do. And who would and probably not bother getting a midfielder as a backup. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed the show, and I shall see you tomorrow. And follow me on Twitter at Mark Goldbridge if you want to know the update for the fight, or tomorrow we'll just discuss it on here. Rants will never be on the show again if he loses, will he? Let's be honest. But no, he'll be fine. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you all soon.